Hello and welcome back. I'm Deirdre and this is day 10 already of 30 days of packing up and decluttering if I need to, and generally just getting ready to move. Today I thought I'd do something a little bit different because I was packing up my tools and sorting them out, and I thought, well, for some of you it might be quite interesting to see what I think of as sort of a really basic toolkit for any person out there, but particularly I would have to say for women. I think it's so important that women learn to use tools well and have a degree of self-reliance, because it gives you an amazing feeling of satisfaction. It has given me an amazing feeling of satisfaction being able to do things for myself. I'm going to take you down to the kitchen. I've laid them out on the bench and I'll talk you through it. Bit different from yesterday when it was Wedgwood Cavendish china, but just as important, actually more important to me, I have to admit. If I had to say which I'll take this next. Yes, I have a lot of Ryobi tools, part of which because I like the brand, but also because when you commit to battery brands, you commit to a particular battery. And it does make you brand loyal, because otherwise you end up spending a fortune on batteries. Right, let's start with number one. Basic thing, let's forget about all the power tools for now, the little ones, and let's start with the most basic thing. You're going to need a saw. Now this is a tiny, dinky-die little saw. I do have other saws, but this is the one that will do an awful lot for you. And when you combine it with a mitre box, which looks like this, it has these different places where you can cut through and give you a mitre for if you're making things like picture frames to start with, for example. And what you do is it sits hard against the edge of the bench. See, it has a slightly longer lip on this side, and then you can use a clamp. It does actually have screw holes in it. If you're setting it up sort of semi-permanently, you'd put screws in it. But as it is, I'm just going to clamp it on just to give you a view. I'm not going to start sawing. I'm just going to show you that you can use these things, which are great. These are quick clamps. Now you can get them just as like little snap-on ones. These ones are probably my favourite because they slide, they're quick release. You just do this to bring it down again, and this way you can move it up and down by pulling that trigger, and then you clench the handle to work it down and make a grip. And they are your extra pair of hands all the time. So now you put the piece of wood in here, you put your little saw across here, and you've got a perfect straight cut. I'd also clamp the piece of wood probably, but that's another story. Or you can cut a mitre across this way, and then the other matching mitre across this way, and then you've got a corner to put together. You can even do bevel cuts in on this end. It has the sloping cut for the bevel. So it's a very useful little box combined with a very simple little saw, and you're able to make quite a complex range of cuts. Now this little saw has seen a bit of work, and I have just, because I was cleaning my tools up anyway, but I've given it a bit of a rub down, but it does actually have some rust on it. Now what I do normally in it is that I will give it a rub with some steel wool, that very fine grade steel wool that doesn't damage metal or wood. So you rub it with that and you rub off the rust, and you get all the whole of the blade back nice and shiny. And then I happen to make my own beeswax paste, but give it a wax with some beeswax. This is beeswax and mineral oil made into a paste, and apart from the fact that it smells amazing, it is perfect for just giving a very light coating over your metal tools. You need a hammer if you're going to hammer things. This is a pretty old one that I've had for years. It's taken a bit of a beating along the way, but it's actually quite a good wee hammer. It's not too heavy. It's got a nice balance, which is the main thing about it. It's got a really nice sweet spot, which is just the place where you hit just ping straight in. And then here's a building square, a speed square, that sets up your right angles for your corners. Once again, it moves against the side of something to give you a straight edge. You can measure off it, you can take all your angles. You could actually build a house with that. Here's another variation. This one is a traditional old-fashioned one. It has a little level in here, the bubble in the oil, to tell you whether you're level when you put it down. So that's also a useful thing. Tin snips. You think, what do I need tin snips for? You'd be amazed. You can cut garden cane with it. You can cut heavy plastics. You can cut a lot of things with these. You don't have to just think of them as cutting tin. Some pliers, a needle nose, some other pliers. I've been going around the house pulling out all of the picture hooks in the walls with those. Here's one screwdriver. I have a whole pack. I have a whole kit, of course. An adjustable spanner. A very useful thing, an adjustable spanner. Something I use all the time. A staple gun. I've got a heavier one, but this is a very handy size, and for doing basic upholstery, that sort of thing, you have to have a staple gun. You're probably not there for a while when you first start, but you will, somewhere along the line, you're going to need some decent chisels, which you will treat like, I don't know, better than your best crystal. Even before you buy a drill, I would say buy a multi-tool. These are amazing. It sands, you put sandpaper on this and it sands, or you can cut with it. These are different blades that you can use for cutting. It comes with 3 different sorts of blades for cutting different materials and at different angles. It is truly superb. That is the most well used item in my whole toolbox, I think. Once you start making furniture, even just fixing things, you will need a drill. And this one is, of course, a drill and a screwdriver. If you're wanting to put a screw into a piece of wood, it's essential to drill a hole first, because the timber may split. Drill yourself a little hole, a pilot hole to put the screw in, and then you switch out your drill into a screwdriver bit, like so. And then you can screw the screw into the timber easily without it splitting. If you want to drill holes, you can use a hole saw, but you can also just have a few spade bits, and these cut a hole. You can put a little pilot and then it just cuts around into it, and that's a very easy way to drill a couple of holes. Next guest. The radio. You've got to have a radio, and this one isn't Bluetooth, but it does have this little wire and connects to your iPhone or whatever phone you're using, so you can play music. Also, sound cancelling headphones. I know, incredibly glamorous. I am very glamorous, she said, laughing. But A, you can play your music through them, and B, you can cancel the sound completely with them. Another incredibly well used, hasn't got a battery in it at the moment, is my sander. Also runs off the same battery. If you're looking for a good sander, this is pretty good, heavyweight. Between that and my little multi-tool, I've done a lot. I have a little trim router. It's another battery run one, and it's handy, it's great. It's easy for me to use. You can just, you can do so much with a router. It gets you onto a different level, but it's pretty good. More useful perhaps than a router early on is a jigsaw. A lot of people can even say they've given up their bandsaws because a jigsaw can do so much of the work. And then, this one doesn't have a blade in it at the moment. There would be a blade here normally. This is a circular saw. Once again, battery driven. It's not light, but it's pretty light, and it's a small blade, so it's very handy. It's laser guided. Does so much work, this little tool, and I keep it like a baby, as you can see, look after it. But it's a very, very useful little circular saw. And then, just to prove that this girl knows how to work, these are my work boots. Please note, you don't buy them looking like this. This is called hard work. I know, sloppy laces, but I have spent many, many long hours up ladders, and these protect your feet. They protect you on ladders because they do all the work with the strong back. Don't go climbing ladders in you know, sports shoes. It's not a good idea. These are great on ladders. So, women in work boots, unite. Here you are. That was a quick run through of the tools that are really helpful if you're setting up just a small sort of toolkit of things that you can add to over the years as you do more and more things. You don't need to start out with a circular saw, believe me, but it's great when you do have one. But these are the things that will let you build small items of furniture. They'll let you build a little seat to put out on your balcony, or a table to go beside it. So I'll be back tomorrow with day 11. If you'd like to be there, please subscribe. And here's a playlist of the 30 days of decluttering that I did last month. Have a lovely day and I'll see you then. Bye.